Today I'm going to tell you about my 5 favorite makeup products that I tried this year and my 5 least favorite makeup products that I tried this year. To qualify for the video, I just had to have tried it this year. If you are a regular viewer of my channel, then you will not be surprised by the picks on either side, but if you are new to my channel, I'll try to be elaborate in the way I describe why I like something to you so you can get a vibe of like what my preferences are, because sometimes why I like something might be a reason why you don't like something, and also, the other way around, a reason I don't like something might be a reason why you might end up liking something. Let's start with the best of the year, my favorites. And I will say, I feel like I had a lot of things I liked this year. Last year, I did an hour and 10-minute long video on my favorites of the year. That feels like untrue to me now. Like, I cannot talk to you for an hour about so many products that are my favorites of the year. So I tried to really narrow it down to like the tippy top. Not that I don't love making log videos, by the way, but I just figured for the best, I really want it to be the best. And so that's why I capped it at 5. The first thing I want to talk about was maybe the thing that shocked me the most this year, that surprised me. It's not because of the brand that made it, it's just what it is. And that was Bella Beauty Bar's Poison Garden palette. So this was a re-release, reiteration of a palette that they had before. I like almost everything I try from them. Whether the color story really hits for me is really where it becomes more important, because I, for the most part, have not had any quality issues. I love their mattes, I love their brights, and I find them really easy to work with, because a lot of the times I feel like with indie brights, it's a more pigmented formula that feels hard to work with, and I like to be able to softly build my color, and Bella Beauty Bar really allows me to do that. A la something like Viseart, it's more pigmented than a Viseart, but I have the same control over these shadows that I would over like a Viseart, a Natasha Denona, or like a Hindash eyeshadow. It has that same quality of the mattes, and then the shimmers are always really beautiful. This is a really big eyeshadow for me. My preferences when it comes to eyeshadow is like max 10, and we have 20 shades in here. So this is a big eyeshadow palette. One pro to this, even though it is a big eyeshadow palette, is that all of these pans are removable and you can move them around, make custom palettes with them. And I've certainly taken some of these shades out and not only built my own custom palettes, but traveled with the shades that I loved the most, as opposed to traveling with this big thing. Also, if I wasn't that precious about the packaging, if I really wanted to condense the palette into a small magnetic palette, I can make it much smaller than this packaging. Whenever I saw this, I was like hoping that they would send it to me, because PR is never guaranteed and I never feel like I'm owed PR, even if I've received PR from a brand before. But when I saw this, I was like, ooh, I really hope that I'm considered for PR for that one, because it's just kind of everything I love about makeup. I'm mostly a neutral wearer, but if there was a color story that really felt honed in and like was really giving and providing me something that I would have fun playing in, this is it. Everything kind of is cool toned, and I feel like even like the warmer tones in here, they're like cooler versions of a warm tone. But all of this yucky muckiness is a part of makeup that has always been very special to me, even if I'm not always wearing it. I feel like I look for those mucky tones in more wearable shades now, browns, like in more like things that we would consider neutrals, even though like there's not really like true neutrals in makeup, things like that. Like I'm looking for like the nuances of that, but this is just like a really nuanced, I guess even consider it a rainbow palette. Like if you really squint hard, you can get all of those colors, but it doesn't feel like that. And the palette has always felt really intuitive for me to use. Like I just feel like everything about it I have really enjoyed. One thing that Bella Beauty Bar I think consistently does across the brand is make eyeshadow palettes that have very good color stories. I think it's really hard to iterate color stories in a way that's going to be fascinating long term without them all feeling like rainbow palettes. Like Blend Bunny, to me, everything they release looks like a rainbow palette. Straightforward, brights, neons. It's not all they do, but that's what a lot of what they do registers to me. But one thing I love about Bella Beauty Bar is that like everything feels so nuanced, and I just feel like this color story really has it all. So fun, and it really broke me out of my like little neutral Nancy little moments that I've been really enjoying recently. I really appreciate it. It was just so exciting to use. Every time I looked at it, I was like, well, yeah, I definitely want to use that. And that was really nice, because I was really feeling fuddy-duddy about eyeshadow, and then for an eyeshadow palette that was something very special and unique and had color in it, really sung to me. It felt very special. I really love Bella Beauty Bar. I really appreciate everything that they do. And this is just like, I think the pinnacle of what they do. I think Poison Garden's really where it's at. You can't go wrong with anything. I like the Smoky Glam palette. I love the Recently De-Influenced palette. If you were like gun to my head, like you can only pick one palette from Bella Beauty Bar, which is the best one. So far, it's this one. So the next one I think was more of a sleeper hit, and I think in my initial review of it, I wasn't unkind to it. I just was a little bit perplexed by it. I don't think this is for everyone, but it really ended up working out for me in a way that was unexpected, and that's the CoverGirl lip stains. And specifically, I like to use them as lip liners, and so I have lined my lips with this shade today. This is the shade Brazen Raisin. I will say not every shade is created equal. I tried one of their Halloween colors. It was a black, and it was terrible, but it was also a color that I feel like CoverGirl isn't really making a lot of, but the more neutral or like skin tone, lip tone shades are really beautiful as a lip liner. I will say they do dry out kind of quickly. I'm still working on mine. I don't remember when I got these this year because CoverGirl sends me PR occasionally, and the whole line came to me in PR of these. I only kept a couple of shades. I do store them like a liquid liner where like I have them kind of with my brushes stored down like that. I love these as lip liners. As all over lips, hate them. Not recommending them for that. But if you're looking for like a really quality stay all day, all night lip liner, this is it. This is like a really good version of that. And what I like about it is that it doesn't set right away. Like it doesn't instantly set into the lips. So you can draw your lip line and then buff it in. And it's the most blended lip line I've ever gotten. And I really like it. So I don't line my whole lips and then blend them. I do it kind of like in quarters. Like I will do this quarter and then I'll blend it. And I'll do this quarter and then I will blend that out. And then obviously I do the top as well. And I feel like I just love the way my lips look. I feel like this really brought me into the conversation when it came to lip liner, where it's like, oh yeah, I understand why people like lip liner now because this has really shown me a lot. And I also feel like it makes my lips look enormous whenever I use it because I think that blend where it's like harsh on the outside and then much more blended on the inner portion of my lips. And then I put on a lighter lipstick and then I put on a lip gloss on top of it. It just makes my lips look so full. I do have naturally full lips, so it's not like something completely out of the ordinary for my lips to look big, but like kind of enhancing them in that way, it really, really takes them to the next level with fullness. Like they just look so full whenever I use these as lip liners. So yeah, it's also a drugstore product, which I don't use a lot on my channel, and it really is something that I find a lot of value in. Like I said, I don't like it all over my lips, but my roommate Tiff, who took, I think, the rest of the line from me, really loves using these all over the lips. So there is a way to get them to work. It's I think my lips are always just like too dry and I have too much dead skin on them for them to really work super well as an all-over stain. But I really have enjoyed my time with these. I will re-up on them when I'm out. And I do feel like mine are about to dry out. So that's one thing to consider. Because it is that liquid marker, it does dry out fairly quickly, but I think that's okay whenever we're talking about a drugstore product. But I remember whenever I looked up the price of these, I was a little bit shocked because I think the manufacturer's retail price is like $12, but I've seen them on sale for $6 many times since then. And for $6, I think it's worth it. When we get close to the end of the year and a lot of brands release a lot of exciting things close to the end of the year, which is like the natural cycle of makeup, it's really hard to remember things that you tried at the beginning of the year. But there is one product that I tried at the beginning of this year that really stood the test of time and really blew me away. And it's a brand that I feel like people think I have the wrong impression of. But this product, I think, makes me understand the people who are really devoted to the brand. Not every product has worked out for me so well, but this one really did. And it's the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Tint. I wear the shade T3. I love light coverage complexion products, but the thing about them is that oftentimes they tend to be made dewy, and I don't mind dewy looking skin, but there's something about a skin tint, my skin's oils break through it, I think, quicker, and I don't mind that look. I've learned to embrace my oils. I'm not really trying to fight them off anymore, but I do find that skin tints don't always feel very skin-like in their finish. I think there are some now, and I do feel as though that this one is the thing that looks most like my skin whenever I have it on. And at the end of the day, I didn't look like an oily, sloppy mess. And it's not a matte product. I just think it looks like skin. It does whatever you want it to do on your skin. It's gonna do that. I find it incredibly versatile and it wears so well. Like it's still there at the end of the day. I think there's one thing about skin tints that we all think is that they don't have that longevity, but like this one wore beautifully for me. I did a detailed review of it. I did like a dedicated review to this product. So if you want to like get more into the nitty-gritty, I would go watch that video. But I don't even have that much left of it. And it's very rare for me to like actually go through a complexion product, even if it is my favorite, because I rotate through them. But this was my complexion product of choice. Whenever I see people during the day, like if I'm hanging out with friends during the day, this would be the complexion product that I would choose over one of my foundations. Here's what I'll say. It has a beautiful blurring finish to it too. And I would say like for a skin tint, I think it has a lot of coverage. Like I would say that this is a light coverage foundation as opposed to a tint. Like I think it has a relatively decent coverage for what it's being sold as. I really like it. And you know, I was a little bit weirded out by the pebble shape whenever I first got it, but I've grown to like it. Like I do kind of like the weirdness of it. It bumped out my beloved Glossier skin tint as my favorite skin tint, and now I only have this in my makeup collection. I was reaching for the Glossier a lot at the end of summer as well, but I was preferring this, and since I prefer it, I'm just gonna keep using it, and I probably will re-up on it when I'm done with it, which I don't know how close I am to actually being done, but I feel like I've used a lot of it this year. It feels really light. Whenever I shake it, it doesn't feel like there's a ton in there moving around. That's really beautiful. I think it's really great whenever I love a product and I get a lot of use out of it. Whenever you're in this space and you are getting stuff to review either by purchasing it or in PR, it doesn't leave a lot of time for you to play with your favorites. And whenever I see something get a lot of use from me over the course of a year, it's like, that's a real one. That's one I really love. So yes, the Lisa Eldridge skin tint is something I recommend. And it does seem like people with dry and oily skin really get on with it. I think it's a really versatile product. I think the only unfortunate part is that, as far as I know, in the United States, you cannot try these in person. And I do know at one point they were giving samples out somehow, but it's not on their website like their foundations. I think that was like an Instagram thing. I don't know. It was like something that I like caught secondhand. I just went ahead and bought it. It is a little bit of a risk because it's mostly a direct to consumer brand. I know you can buy through Space NK. I'm not sure what their return policy is, but really worth, I think, going out of your way to try if this is something you're in the market for. Gorgeous, beautiful, nothing ever better, stunning. These are like absolutely my 2 favorite products that I've tried this year. I feel like this feels less exciting because I tried this at the beginning of the year and we're now at the end of the year, but it's like now become an old faithful to me, so it doesn't feel as exciting to talk about. But it is exciting to talk about because I've gotten so much use out of it and I've loved it for the majority of this year. These two are relatively newer to me. They came out in the second half of the year, but I think they are both the best. I think they are the best versions of the product category that I've ever tried. And we'll start with, I think, the more unfortunate one as far as pricing goes. Neither one of the things I'm going to show you are cheap. In fact, it's a real miracle that there was a drugstore product in this best of video because it's just not my usual thing. But it is always nice to walk away with something that I think performs really well and I can recommend to you. But this one's not drugstore. This one is on the opposite side of the Richter scale when it comes to pricing. And it's the Victoria Beckham concealer. So this is a collaboration with Augustinus Bader, and it's supposed to have like the whatever his special ingredient is that's in all of his skincare. Whenever that was how it was revealed to us that it was going to be a collaboration, I should have known that I was going to really like it. Victoria Beckham is a brand that I would say that I favor a bit more. I have really liked what I've tried from them. I really like their packaging, and their primer is my favorite primer, which is also with Augustinus Bader. I've bought it many times. Many being, I think I bought it 3 times. But that feels like a lot, especially whenever the product is like $100. I'm not gonna say it exaggerated. I want you to know that like I truly believe this. I think this is the best concealer I've ever tried. I need you to hear me when I'm about to tell you all of the things I'm about to tell you about it. I don't think it's the most full coverage concealer. I would say it's more of like a medium coverage concealer. I do think it adds brightening. But the thing that it does that I like, my brain can't comprehend, is that it looks so good and skin-like on the under eye. And it does so much for the under eye that it's like actually unbelievable. Something that I have an issue with when it comes to concealers is that, you know, I think we all have it. I just think it's like the way faces are built. There's that fold underneath your lower eyelid. Product gets caught in there. I feel like mine's deepening because I'm aging. Really malleable concealer formulas love to get caught in there, and if I don't powder them right away. But even if I do powder them, it does somehow always shift, even if I am being careful about how much product I'm applying, because I know the thinner the layer, the better, and like the less likely that will happen if you have a thinner layer of makeup on. So like, I'm aware of all of that. I know that cognitively whenever I'm putting on concealer. I'm just so wowed by this because it like barely does that. Like it takes a really long time for it to get into that fold underneath my eye, and it doesn't really build up once it does kind of get in there. It looks so good. My under eyes have literally never looked better. A couple of times I put it all over my face as a foundation. If they make a foundation product, I'm so fucked because this, I'm rounding here. It's about $70. I think it's like $68 or $69. I think it's 68. I imagine brands probably try to avoid a $69 price point, but whenever I bought it, I was mostly buying it, I would say, quote unquote brand loyalty. Not that I feel like loyal to Victoria Beckham as a brand. They've never done anything for me other than make product, you know, like I buy their product and I just happen to get along with a lot of it, but not all of it. I've did a Victoria Beckham brand review and some of the products I didn't love, but this one's a love. After I got it and I tried it and I learned how beautiful it was, when I put on concealer, this was the concealer. It was like a fight to not use it so I could use other things. So actually right now I have this put away so I can finish up a concealer that I'm almost done with. And I just want to finish up that concealer and I want to, then I can bring this back and I can keep using this because it is just such a beautiful product. It self-sets a little bit, but it's not dry because a lot of times whenever a formula is described as self-setting, that normally means it's a more matte formula. And I wouldn't say it's matte, but I also wouldn't say it's like dewy. I just think it has that soft luminosity. Like it's not looking oily. It's not looking wet. But it does, oh, it just looks so good. It's so good. It only comes in 16 shades. I wear the first shade. It says FL1. And I do have it on my under eyes today. I allowed myself a little treat since I was going to talk about it in the video. I got to put it on. FL1 is the shade I wear. It does seem to me, and obviously it's not going to be the most comprehensive shade range, but like this is fairly light and the deep shade appears. I can't speak to it. I don't own it. The deep shade seems fairly deep and like it seems like they did an even cut most of the way through. Obviously, I would love to see more shades. Obviously, undertones get missed whenever you're doing such a broad range with fewer shades. But I hope that this does well enough that they extend the shade range. Something that Victoria Beckham's brand tends to do is that whenever a product does really well, they will extend on it. Like they have so many colors of their eyeliner because it's a really good formula and people really love it. And so it's nice that they add shades to it. But this is different. We haven't seen a complexion product. This is their first, complexion foundation concealer product. Hopefully it will get elaborated on. You don't get a lot of product and I can't speak to the skincare qualities of it because I don't wear it every day. Like, I don't know if it's like doing things to help my under eye. I just like the way it wears on my under eye. And I think when we're talking about concealer, that's enough for me. But yeah, it's a very hefty price tag. If you love your concealer, you don't need to like buy this one to see if you love it as much as me. But if you happen to be running out of concealer, you're getting close to the end, or you are on the hunt for one that will do all the things that I just described, this might be one to check out. It's really great if that's like in your budget, which is like not gonna be for everyone. This has my heart. Like it's just like the most exciting product that I tried this year, which is, I don't really like concealer that much. Concealer is like one of those things that I don't like love the process of it. Foundation I love. Concealer I don't really love. Also, I'm not wearing the skin tint today. I forgot. I was just doing my makeup. So I have actually, just to tell you, it's a product that I've been enjoying and it's from CoverGirl. They said it in PR. It's CoverGirl Clean Invisible Foundation and I quite like it. I mean, it's nothing like, well, it's not nothing like the skin tint from Lisa Eldridge, but it's really good so far. I'm not getting along with it. So I'm going to report more on that in the new year. I'm loving it. And I know my friend Sarah Rose of Sarah Rose Beauty really loves it. I'm getting on with it quite well. I think it looks really good. Anyway. I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I wasn't wearing this. But again, I did a whole dedicated video to the Lisa Eldridge if you want to go seek that out. And then my favorite, well, I don't know if it's my favorite product of the year. These were all really good contenders for favorite product of the year. This year, I feel like we've been on a trend where highlighter has been kind of an unpopular product. I think a lot of us, for the past couple of years, like the trend has been like really dewy skin. So like highlighters have been like these balmy or creamy kind of things that like the wetness is from the wetness of the product. Like that look is from the wetness of the product, not so much from shimmer particles. I feel like highlighter, especially at the tail end of this year, like in the second half of this year, had quite the comeback. Speaking of comebacks, this brand came back, I feel like out of nowhere. I think we all had written it off, but Hindash decided to like come back into the chat this year and drop highlighters, and he released 3 of them, and this is the shade La Luna. Now, I also have the shade Doll Dynasty, and I really love it, but La Luna is the one I'm talking about here. I think the formula across both of them is the same quality. This is something very special. So As someone who has really fair skin, whenever brands make highlighter for fair skin, I feel like there's always like a white base that is to them, and that doesn't always look bad on me, but there are different undertones. Like sometimes people with fair skin don't have cool undertones, and I think that when those cool toned highlighters get made, those really light white highlighters, there's not really for everyone. Now I definitely feel like this is a cool toned leaning highlighter, but I think it looks really natural. And even in the swatch, which I know I haven't been swatching things, you can tell it's not like a super white thing. And the swatch doesn't really tell all either, because I feel like swatching it makes it look really sparkly. Sorry, my hand's a mess. It can look really sparkly in like thick swatches of it, but on the cheek, it just looks like the most ethereal soft. I put a lot on. Not that I'm like trying to have like the most blinding of highlights, but like I put a lot on. It with just a tap of it, it's the most ethereal glow. Even with more on, it still looks like an ethereal glow, but like very visible, but like never feels like you're wearing like a streak of eyeshadow, because I feel like powder formulas can do that thing whenever you're like layering highlighter on, where it's like you're layering it on and then it just looks like you have eyeshadow on the top of your cheek, and that like never happens with this formula. But to make something cool toned that feels really wearable, even if you're not doing like a really cool toned look, like there's no blue in it. I have historically gotten along with Hindash products in the past, so I was excited that he was, one, back making product, but two, made a highlighter, and like, of course it's great. It's made by Hindash and it's just everything I wanted. It's this baked, kind of dry formula, but whenever you get it on the skin, it doesn't look dry and chalky. It's just like so good. I think the colors are really honed in. This is a gradient technically. In the promo materials, it looks like really blue purple on the one side, but that's not really what it is. I just kind of take my brush and swirl it all together. This side of the formula is a little more cool leaning, and this side's a little more neutral down the line, but swirling them all together always gives me the perfect finish. I'll show you Doll Dynasty, even though it's not the one that's really my favorite. This side can be a little bit deep if I focus too much on it, but when I swirl my brush in there and I put it on, it works well for my skin tone too. But there's two options. I mean, there's three options. The last one's more of like a dark bronze that's gonna look really beautiful on deep skin tones. And I think this one's a little more flexible, Doll Dynasty. I'm not sure someone with a really deep complexion would want to use this one. These are so good. They made me like love highlighter again. Like I don't know. It's like the part of both this and the Victoria Beckham concealer made me excited about a part of my makeup that like hasn't really historically been super exciting to me for a long time. Concealer never has been exciting to me, and highlight, I've just kind of like fallen off the highlight train, and this made me excited about highlighter again. I'm just happy Hindash is back. And then I did have one honorable mention, and this is technically something I'm retrying this year, and I recently depotted it. It's a little worse for wear. But the Phytosurgeon Spectral Shine, this is Divine Daylight. I love this product now. This is the shade Divine Daylight, and I love this as like a cheek filter primer. So like after I put my foundation on, I will pick this up in a brush and press it into my skin, and it does like this blurring, this soft glowing, and this is a little bit darker than my skin tone, and it starts sculpting my face. Beautiful, beautiful product. It's not a highlighter. I wouldn't describe it as a highlighter if you were going to Phytosurgeon's website and you were buying it thinking it was going to be a highlighter. It doesn't really work like that, in my opinion, unless you like a really soft highlighter. This is like a face filter product to me. And it's not super greasy. It's like this weird thing. Like I'm not going to touch it, because I have found historically with this type of formula from Phytosurgeons, once you get a finger in there and then you try to go back to a brush, it doesn't really like that. That's just been my experience. So it's like this just, it's so great. It's so great. And then Jason, as I'm filming today, posted like a cool toned one. He's like, should I release it next year? Anyway, I'm just glad that I fell in love with that product, because when I first tried it, like the original review of it on my channel, I was like, I don't understand this. Now I really understand it, but I do think it's a difficult product. Like it's not a very straightforward product. And like if you buy it and it doesn't work the way you want it to, it is worth figuring out a way to make it work, because I think it is a beautiful product. But like, I don't think everyone's going to want to do that. So it's not something I recommend to everyone. But if you were looking to like +1 your like complexion step, I think it's a great thing for that. Also, in my declutter video, I talked about depotting. So we're like on a journey here. So I depotted that. Yeah, I'm not going to show you my blushes, because like that's a journey. The thing about pigtails is that I didn't remember about having little pigtails is that they kind of have to go the same way. If my hair was longer, it would like be a little less noticeable, but the pigtails just kind of like shoot out. And it's like, okay, they kind of have to go the same angle. Now we have to talk about the bad products. This is the juicy juiciness. I'm gonna take a sip of my water first. This is the part that a lot of people love, the sassy. So I'm gonna start with my honorable mention for the worst product. I have done fragrance videos on my channel. It's not like a prevalent topic on my channel yet, but it's still part of like what I would like to do with my channel. In fact, I just got some Christmas money. Maybe I'll buy a fragrance sampler and try some things out. I watch some people talk about fragrance, and I watch everyone talk about fragrance. As someone who has tried to make fragrance content, it is really hard to make fragrance content that resonates because this is such a sensory thing whenever it comes to fragrance. You can try to describe it being like something or similar to something only so much as that person who's receiving that information has smelled those things. I was like, well, I have been like into wearing fragrance every day, where I normally would say fragrance to like leaving the house, but I'm trying to like wear it more for just me. And I have beautiful fragrances and I want to use them. Like, yes, if I use them and I have to rebuy them, that could be painful for my wallet, but also I want to use them, right? Like, I don't want to die with these fragrances that I bought now almost 4 years ago. Like, I don't want to die with them. Like, I want to use them. I want to use them up and be like, wow, I love that so much. I use them. I was like, oh, maybe I'll try body sprays. Maybe I'll try body sprays. And I know that people really love these Bath and Body Works sprays. Okay. This was part of the line where like they released a bunch of things that were supposed to dupe other things. And this was supposed to be the dupe for Le Labo's Santal 33, which I know is like basic girl scent, but I really love it, right? I think Santal is such a pretty scent. And so I was placing an order for candles because you know, a little luxury. I like had some extra money and I was like, I would really like to have some candles. So I bought some candles. And then these were on sale for $3.50. I don't think this is worth $3.50. I don't think I'm a body spray person. I think I am strictly an eau de toilette or more, you know, or eau de parfum or an eau de parfum extrait or whatever that is. Like, I think I need something more like that for me to feel satisfied. Because there's something about it that just feels and smells inherently like a body spray. And I do think that cheapens the experience of the fragrance for me. And I think when this hits my skin, well, first of all, I don't think it smells anything like Santal 33. Like, I'm not even like close. It's a little more sour, which I don't even think is bad, but like it just smells like body spray from the 90s. Like, it's like, I know that like there are some, you know, more modern formulas, but like this doesn't smell any different than I remember like body sprays from whenever I was in middle school and people were spraying body sprays all over them. Like, it's so basic and it's not even close to what they're. Well, I don't even know that Bath and Body Works like outright said that they were trying to dupe these things, but like that's what the internet suspects, and I just don't think it smells like Santal, like Le Labo Santal. There's like a whole just like kind of like almost yucky kind of smell to it, like where it's like, is it masculine? Is it feminine? Something feels a little bit off about it. It feels like I'm in a hotel lobby. If this body spray was what a hotel lobby smelled like, I would about face and be like, I need to go to a different hotel. I don't like anything about it. The chemistry with my skin, it makes it smell even more sour. And I'm like, okay, no. I was just trying to find a more cost-effective way to like smell good. And, you know, like I would feel good about spraying it all over my body and feel like nice about it, but I'll stick with my fragrances. The process of me trying to figure out what was the worst that I tried this year, I went back through my videos and watched reckonings where I go through my testing drawer and I tell you how I feel about things, or some things have a dedicated review. I forgot about this foundation. I forgot that I bought it. But this year I tried the Louis Vuitton Fetish foundation. It was the one that got released earlier this year. And it was a liquid foundation. I think up until that point, they only had like a cushion foundation. And I think, or maybe they had like a powder foundation. Oh, how exciting. I've never tried anything from Louis Vuitton. And the Louis Vuitton packaging and makeup stuff has been a little bit strange. And so I was like, I would like to try that. I love foundation. I love to review foundation, to like spend a lot of time with foundation, I love to try foundations. If you've ever watched one of my foundation videos, I've streamlined them a lot more, but they have a lot of work. Like they used to be really long, but now I get all that information out in about 20 to 30 minutes. I love to talk about foundation, right? And that's why I bought it. I was like, I'm going to review this. A couple of things happened. The day that I got it, I just like opened up and I swatched it and it smelled so bad. But I didn't know whenever I was swatching it and smelling it that I was about to have food poisoning. So then I related to that smell with being sick. I don't love my cosmetics to have a scent. The thing that I'm most okay with having a scent is my lip product. Blushes and bronzers or whatever, like they can have a scent to them. Most of the time, the scent dissipates. So most of the time, it's like not a super big issue except for at application. The smell of this foundation sat with me and was taken with me all day. It's such a perfumey scent. I'm sure it's one of their fragrances that they put into it. Stuck around with me all day. It's just like my face was emanating this scent, and it was like so gross. And it, of course, because it was on my face, it was in my nose. The scent was inside of my nose because, you know, the foundation, I take it underneath my nose. I could smell it all day. I wore it the one time. I only wore it that time. I hated it so much. Not only that, the finish of it was this soft matte. And I had been more open to like trying some soft matte foundations. It's not historically my favorite finish of a foundation. I was like, oh, it'd be nice to have like a luxury soft matte foundation. It looked crusty, musty on me. Like it really hung to like dry patches. I exfoliate a lot. So for something to find a dry patch on my face to stick to, that's not my lips. My lips, not so great about exfoliating, but the rest of my face exfoliate a lot. And so for it to find a dry patch to hang on to, it was just so unflattering. And then there was that scent. And like the bottle was glass, which was fine enough, but the packaging, like the lid to it was so cheap and flimsy feeling. And we're talking about Christian Louboutin, which is like this historically, notoriously expensive shoe brand, which like has this cult following. They make a bunch of stuff, but like, it was just like, oh, and then this is how you're selling me foundation with this really cheap cap. Because in a lot of other luxury formulas and luxury packaging, when it comes to foundation, if they are like doing the most with packaging, normally like the lid, the cap to go over the pump is like the most heavy, gorgeous thing, like part of the experience. And so it was just like everything about it was bad. Everything about it was bad. I don't think I know a person who like tried it and it's their favorite foundation. Like, I don't think it's going to be on anyone's end of year list. I don't know that anyone really thought so poorly of it like I did, but like, I never want to touch it, see it, swatch it, smell it again. But yuck. This is the last time I received PR from this brand, which is totally fine. I only talked about the product one time, but I tried it many times before I talked about it on camera. When I talked about it on camera, it wasn't even a review. And I see other people using this product that I'm like actually dumbfounded. But I think maybe what I look for in a lip balm is not what most people look for in a lip balm, but Finding Ferdinand sent me a trio of lip balms early this year. And it was like a set. And I think it was like a spring or summer thing. And there were like 3 different shades of like pink in it. And I wasn't the only one who got them in PR, but they sold, it wasn't like a PR package, but they sold this like box of 3 of them. The packaging of the lip balms was this beautiful aluminum. It was like heavy. It was weighted. It was actually quite gorgeous packaging. It had that green of theirs. The base of it was gold. There was 3 different scents and they were all pink. It was like, I can't remember like what exactly they were selling, like what the thing was, but there was like a black cherry shade and like, you know, the shade was like well enough. It was like a sheer, I don't know that they were like pH adjusting. They was just, it was sheer, you know, it was like a sheer black cherry, you know, and it also smelled like that. So the smell was pleasant. Finding Ferdinand's scents for their lip products, I think, are so good. Like they're very pleasant. I think they smell like the thing that they say they're going to smell like. At least in like the lip glosses I tried and even the lip balms, I think they smelled good. The formula was just not nourishing at all. It was so thin. And this is kind of how I feel about the ones from Phytosurgeons too. It's so thin. I didn't feel like it was doing anything for my lips. Like it was being sold as a lip balm. It had like a slight tint to it, but it was just simply not doing anything for my lips. And perhaps I have just drier lips than most people. Perhaps there's just so much surface area on my lips that whenever, like, I don't know, they're dry. I don't know, but like they almost dried out my lips. Like they would glide on well enough. And then they were so thin. And like, I just was like, I don't think this is doing anything. And not that I want to have like the thickest lip balm, but I want something that feels like when I put it on my lips, that's going to be there for like, I don't know, hopefully like an hour, nourishing my lips. Like that's like what I want. It felt like I put them on and not only like did the moisture evaporate relatively quickly, the color wasn't there. In the video that I was talking about it, like I put it on, I like showed you at the beginning of it, like I was like, I'm gonna start with this, I'm gonna put it on my lips, and by the end of the video, it was all the way gone. So even like as a prep step, it didn't really work. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, it was bad. I think they're really bad. I wouldn't buy a lip balm from Finding Ferdinand. I like their lip glosses, and I do like their blushes. Like I think their blush formula and their lip gloss formula are good. And if you're gonna go through Finding Ferdinand, those would be the two things I would stick to. I wouldn't buy one of their lip balms. I haven't tried one of their lipsticks, but I wouldn't buy the lip balms. Ooh, there are a lot of bad products I only try once because there's just no redeeming qualities. And I'll tell you why. So I actually have to read. It's the CoverGirl Lash Blast Mascara, waterproof. I get PR from CoverGirl, and like almost every time they send me PR, there's a mascara that gets thrown into the PR kit that like I haven't tried. This one comes, I believe, in an orange container. I'll put a picture of it up here for you to reference. At best, on my eyelashes, it made them look okay. Like, I don't think it did a lot of lengthening or like a lot of volumizing, which I think volumizing is like what it's claiming to do. It was like, I just put it on and it just kind of looked like I had darker lashes, which is a vibe, but it doesn't feel like the fantasy that I feel like CoverGirl was selling to me through the branding. But I'm okay with that look. The problem was that motherfucking mascara was so hard to get off. I have used my fair share of waterproof mascaras, and I know a lot of people don't use waterproof mascaras because they don't want to go through the effort of taking them off, which I get. I haven't had that many issues with it. I know some people who have tried like J Beauty, and I think J Beauty ones, they actually have their own like makeup remover version of their mascara. So anyway, I have seen some people talk about mascara being hard to get off. I think that mascara was on my eyelashes for like 4 days. I was using oil cleanser. I was obviously cleansing my face, but it was just like not coming off. I will never use it again. I don't need my mascara to be like that. Honestly, I would take a little bit of smudging, a little bit of flaking over, like being able to feel the mascara on my eyelashes 2 days later. That I've washed my face now 8 times, you know, like it's like, why is this what's going on with my eyes? So that's a big no from me. Tiff took the regular version of it and tried it, and they hated that as well. I don't think for the same reasons. It just like didn't do anything, and it just kind of, it was bad. Now, one of you did comment on that video where I like tried it for the first time, and then in the next video said, I hate this, I can't imagine this being anyone's favorite mascara. Said that they love to do it as like a finishing mascara. There's one thing I'm not gonna, listen, we all have our things in makeup where we are willing to do the most and the least in. I'm only putting 1 coat of mascara on these eyelashes, and that's it. That's my commitment to a mascara. It has to be good in 1 coat, because I'm not going back. If I had to put 2 coats on, it's a bad mascara. But some people love to layer mascaras, and I can definitely understand and appreciate why someone would want to finish off with a waterproof mascara, but not that one. Well, I'll never use that one. I'll never use that one again. Woo, that was scary. Hopefully they never said it to me again. So the last 2 things I'm going to talk about, I think, are my most controversial takes in this video. I mean, I feel like the things that I talked about that were good, I think a lot of people thought that those were good things. The things I'm about to put on my worst of beauty list, I think, are 2 things that a lot of people really love and are gonna have a hard time hearing me out here. So turn on your listening ears for me, okay? I need you to turn them on and just hear me out. We'll start with I think the easier of the 2 things to talk about, which is the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow palettes. I don't get it. I have tried some really beautiful eyeshadow formulas in my time. I really have. And the way that I hear other people talk about them, I was like, man, these are going to be so good and right up my alley. Everything about these eyeshadow palettes are something that I think that should really fall right in my sweet spot. So, like, she's not really pushing color, and, you know, she has a little bit of texture in her formulas. They come in these beautiful little compacts. I don't really love the way the compacts look, but I really appreciate that there was, like, thoughtfulness and effort put into the packaging. The pans aren't super small. Like, she's a pro makeup artist. A lot of the pro makeup that I have tried as far as, like, eyeshadow goes has been my favorite way to work with eyeshadow. So lighter pigmentation, buildable, lots of control. And I got like none of that. I feel like the looks that I put together with the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadows were always good. Like, I don't think that their end result was bad. The process was never fun for me. If I'm gonna do eyeshadow, especially something basic, which I think that Lisa's eyeshadows and the palettes and the way that the color stories are set up in a way that are supposed to be really easy. So when I'm looking at them, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pick like 2 to 4 of these shades. I'm gonna like blend them on my eyes and it should be really quick and easy. I found them to be so laborious. I can't remember all the formulas off the top of my head, but there was one formula which just like didn't want to show up on my skin. It was in both of the palettes that I tried, and I would put it on and it looked like nothing happened. I would put it on and it looked like nothing happened. I put it on and it looked like nothing happened. And then the mattes, the regular or velvet mattes, all of the formulas are pretty creamy, which is like not a problem, but it's just like, the texture of them is strange. I like got on pretty well with the mattes. The darker mattes blended out a little bit too much for my liking. Like they didn't hold a strong concentration of the color. And the black was a blue black, and I felt like when I blended it looked more blue than black. The darker colors kind of always got away from me when I would use them, the darker mattes, but I did like the mattes. Like I think that was like the best formula. And when it comes to like satins and shimmers, like I think everyone's looking for a different experience. I think satins can be beautiful. They're not something I use a ton of, but if I'm doing like a very simple, easy, basic look, like cool. I love a satin to just like throw on my eye, very classy, very demure. It was like all of that for like a look that with another eyeshadow palette would have taken me 5 minutes, was taking me 30 minutes with the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadows. I was doing all of this work for like a simple smoky eye, and it was like, I could have done that with like one product from another brand or like a handful of eyeshadows from another brand, and it would have taken me like no time at all. And the impact just wasn't there. And I do feel as though for the most part, I'm looking for a more impactful shimmer. And I know that. And like, I don't think that's what Lisa promised. So it's not what I got. Right. And I understand that. But like, I think if you're looking for like easy blendable eyeshadows, that's not where I'm going. That's not where I would tell someone to go. Like when I was talking about the skin tint, like this brand and the way a lot of people talk about it, I find like hard to see through the cracks. And I hate to say this, but like a lot of the times whenever people start raving about a Lisa Eldridge product, I just don't believe them. Even less so now, but even before, it was like the way people would talk about Lisa Eldridge products was just like, it was like too much, and it was too everyone. It feels like everyone thought that. I was like, there's no way that all of these products can be like hits. A lot of makeup is good, right? But a lot of times good feels just mid at this point. Like the 5 products I shared with you earlier were like excellent, but people talk about Lisa Eldridge products like everyone is like excellent. Even my most favorite brands, there are products from them that I don't like or that are less good, you know, like there's not everything needs to be something that's out of the park. So like, yeah, when Lisa Eldridge releases a product, I see everyone get excited about it. I see everyone buy it without waiting even for a review. And then they get it. And of course they love it because it's Lisa Eldridge. But I think that has so much to do with the goodwill that Lisa brings to her brand, which is like people like her. I've tried a banger from Lisa Eldridge. I have tried some flop Tinas from Lisa Eldridge. My opinion is that I'll believe it when I see it. So if she ever releases another product that feels like up my alley and worth trying, I will probably try it. But like, honestly, I probably won't ever do a brand review of Lisa Eldridge because that sounds scary. Because the Lisa fans do come out whenever you talk about her. And I'm not looking to ruffle feathers in such a way. And I'm not saying that you're wrong if you buy all of her stuff and you really love it. That's great. I want you to buy her stuff and I want you to love it. I'm not trying to tell you to not, but I'm just saying that like perhaps we have different tastes and different needs out of our makeup because I don't know, I felt like those eyeshadows were so hyped and I like didn't get it. Not for me. And the last one, this is like a brand. So while Lisa Eldridge, I had a banger and had some flops. This brand didn't do it for me, and it's just Suku. Suku or Suk, which someone said in the comment is how it's pronounced. I'm not sure what the right way is. I'm going to say Suku for the rest of the video. I spent about $600 on almost a full face of products from Suku. And that was like a secret brand review that I worked on behind the scenes this year. And here's why I wanted to try it. I feel like the people who are into luxury makeup, Suku feels like one of those like quiet luxury brands. But like the makeup version of that, where like the people who are in the know about Suku, they'll go to Selfridges, they'll buy Suku, or they'll go to Harrods and buy Suku. Perhaps if you live in a place where Suku is pretty easy to access. Not that feels like a really wild thing that I just said, but like in America, in the United States, there's only like a handful of retailers we can buy Suku from. Not only that, Suku's relatively elusive. Their stuff seems to mostly come out in limited edition stuff. There's like a core line. Most of the stuff that we're seeing is like limited edition. So if you want it, you have to be really on it. I thought, because everyone, kind of like with Lisa Eldridge, that's ever tried Suku, raves about it. And I was like, this seems like a home run. A luxury brand that's like elusive and not really super available in the United States feels like something that would make me feel so special to have it, and I'm betting it's so good. I was wrong. The reason I'm harsh about this is because it's hard for me to get where I am, and most of my audience live in the United States or Canada, so it would be equally hard for those people, if they were interested in this brand, to get it. Not a single thing I tried from Suku would be worth the hassle of paying a premium on shipping or importing from another country. In my experience, we have beautiful makeup that's easily accessible here that I think is all better than, like, not obviously not every piece of makeup here is better, but there's gonna be something of equal quality, or most of it is better quality, in my opinion, or experience when it comes to like the luxury realm. Suku is just fine when it's at its best and like really bad when it's at its worst. I think it's worth being harsh about it. Like, yeah, it is like fun to interact with. It's different, but it's also just not great. And because it is a Japanese brand, the shade range is like not great on any of their complexion products. Obviously, we have a lot of brands here in the United States that aren't great with shade ranges too, but it's really limiting. And when you're buying it, you have so little to go off of what the color might actually look like and what the texture, the finishes of these things might be, that you're really taking a shot in the dark. And whenever the foundation is $75, which is like expensive, but like I also have a foundation that I like that is $75, but I'm essentially blind buying it. Like, and you can look for swatches. They're a little hard to find. Perhaps if I knew how to, like, in Japanese, I might be able to find more swatches, but I found it very hard to find resources. Like, we really take for granted, like, all the people who do swatch content here, because, like, most of what I was seeing was just, like, a little bit of a shade on, like, a swatch board. It was just, like, it was all just, like, really hard to figure out what I was even looking at when it came to the foundation and concealer. And, like, yeah, that's part of the shopping experience. But again, I'm just, like, trying to say, it's, like, it was really hard to figure out and get my hands on those products. And then I got them. I was so excited. Like, I can't emphasize, like, I was so excited. I was so excited. And the products came at the very beginning of the year. They were just sitting in my room because I didn't have time to film. And I was, at the beginning of this year, I took a couple weeks off at the beginning of the year, not really posting much, if at all. So I took some time off. So I wasn't really recording. So I just wanted to, I didn't want to touch it because I wanted to do a first impressions video. I really wanted to, like, do a first impressions video. So I didn't want to touch or swatch anything. I, like, opened the packaging to make sure everything came okay. But, like, other than that, I, like, wasn't touching it. There is a first impressions video. You can watch it. The way that I struggled through that first impressions video, and I was like, wow, this was so underwhelming. It was so disappointing. And so I kept trying the products this whole year. I kept trying them and just never had a moment where I was like wowed by any of it. In color, in formula, in texture, the two things that really stuck out to me that like would be the best is I liked the foundation. I thought it was good. And like, depending on your undertone and what shade you are, you might have more options in the Suku line than you might have in something like Suraj. Like, just really depends. Okay, I wouldn't go out of my way to buy that foundation. Like, it wasn't so good that I would like go through the rigmarole of buying it again. And the powder, but it was a loose powder and it had like this light violet. And I feel like sometimes I really overdid it with the powder, and sometimes I feel like I wasn't applying enough. There was like a real beautiful sweet spot that I sometimes found with that powder that was like really like porcelain doll finish. And it was gorgeous. And so those were the two things that I had the best experience with. The blush is okay. A lot of people really say that the blush is like the peak moment of the brand Suku is like, oh, you gotta try their blushes. But right when I was buying them, they were discontinuing that formula that everyone really raved about, and they were replacing it with a new one. And so both versions of the blush existed, but there's also a second or third formula that I bought that formula, and it wasn't the melting color blush, which was like, I think the original formula, and now there's like a new version of that. Anyway, so the blush was like good, but like, again, not something I would go out of my way to buy. And here's the thing, especially when I'm buying cosmetics at this point, Like, I want to buy the best color in the best formula. I could have bought the wrong shade of the blush. I thought the blush color was really interesting, but like nothing, the formula didn't really like wow me, right? And most of the time, my experience is like, I like really one color in a blush formula, and that's really why I like it as the color. And the formula might be really nice, but I don't feel like I need more shades. I didn't feel compelled to find my perfect shade in that formula because it was like fine, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but again, not something I'm going out of my way to spend an additional cost to buy, because even if you're buying it from Cult Beauty and the shipping is lower, Cult Beauty spikes their pricing on their end to make it more expensive to essentially cover the cost of the shipping that you would have spent if you bought it from Selfridges or somewhere else. You know, you're paying a premium even beyond the premium of it being a luxury item. The eyeshadows were they weren't a moment. They were dull. There was only one matte in the eyeshadows that I bought. It was like chalky, and when you blended it, it like, I don't know. There was something about working with it that like I didn't really like. I could see some people might really like that formula, but it wasn't for me. And then the shimmers were like, they looked really sparkly, and then I put them on my eye and it was just like nothing. And not even like that demure shimmer, which I sometimes like, you know, like I think the Armani shimmers are really like the liquid Armani eyeshadows are like that kind of like beautiful, elegant, luxury shimmer. Like they were just kind of like, and so it was just disappointment start to finish. And I have friends, people I really like, who some things we really align on, really like everything from Suku, but I don't think it's worth risking it for the biscuit. If you happen to like travel to London and go to Selfridges and you can like play with it in person, maybe you'll find something. My opinion is that people who like Suku have a sunk cost fallacy with it, and they're forcing themselves to like it, because I don't think it's that good. And again, that's like, I'm just joking. Like, people are allowed to like things differently than me. And especially like, you're allowed to like things that are different from what I like as well. I can't in good conscience recommend you buy anything from Suku if you're in the United States. If it's more accessible to you and it's not like a whole thing to get it, maybe. But like, I'm good. I've had my fill. I've had my share. I lost $600 because the Suku brand review didn't even do good on my channel. All of my review videos lose money. That lost a lot of money. I also hold that against it too. Oh, so sad. I was actually debating whether to do Suku or Westman Atelier, like doing a break, like it was like between the two. I really wish I had gone with Westman Atelier. Not that I think it would have fared like a ton better, but it would have been like a similar price point, and at least the packaging would have been beautiful. I mean, not that the Suku packaging was ugly, but like there's something about Westman Atelier packaging that really gives you that umami, you know? That's what gives you like that ooh, yum, yum, yum. Good. So those were my 5 favorite and 5 worst. I mean, one of the 5 worst was a whole brand, but you know, I stretch the rules a little. It's my channel. I can do whatever I want. Surprise, you got an extra video. I told you that I might not even post for the rest of the year. And here I am, doing my best and worst. Because I had the wherewithal, the gall, and gumption to do it today. For you. Not for me. For you. It wasn't for me. So let me know in the comments down below what your favorite products of the year were. I'm going to limit you to 1. So what's the best product and the worst product that you tried this year? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm very curious if we align on anything or if we don't align on anything. I'm very curious. Mostly about the worst. What was everyone's worst product of the year? I'm mostly curious about that. But if you happen to be new to my channel and you're not yet subscribed to me, hi. What I like to do on my channel is to help myself and help you be more discerning about the makeup that we're buying. A lot of the times when we're deep into the makeup world and we have a lot of makeup and we're considering buying more makeup, the thing that we're attracted to is probably going to be something that we already have, because we tend to want to buy the things that we like, and we probably already bought the things that we like, and that new thing is just like the new version of the thing we like, and it might not necessarily even be better. So I just try to take that all into consideration. So if that's the kind of content that you're into, I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video, and I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships. You can find those both linked down below. I do one additional video for patrons and members, and sometimes I do some additional stuff over there. So if you want to support me additionally, you can go ahead and do that. But if you don't want to or you don't have the money to, no pressure. I'm just happy that you were here hanging out with me. I have a pinned comment down below. It's a link to Operation Olive Branch. They are helping people in Gaza through mutual aid. So if you have some funds to throw their way, please do that, especially before, giving money to me. Watching my content is great. I appreciate that. But throwing money their way would be way more important at this time. But if you are a member or a patron, I do want to thank you. I really appreciate you. And if this happens to be my last video, Happy New Year to everyone. And I will see you in the new year, but I don't know. I might be able to squeak even one more video out this year. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see if I get the gumption and wherewithal to do that before the end of the year. We'll see. We'll see. I don't even know when you're going to see this because I had to edit this and I also have a million things to do this weekend. So we'll see when you see it. And I'll see what I see when you see what I see. You know what I mean? Remember to follow your hope and you'll find me. And I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out. Fall the raindrops with lemon drops and gumdrops. Oh, what a rain.